Gina, let me start with you. This is an important thing for people to understand. There are lots of impediments to reproductive freedom and generally freedom in Texas. Unusual in a political season to look at the courts, but it's something that we're finding out is increasingly necessary across this country, but particularly in Texas.
You're absolutely right. And this is the very first attempt to change the makeup of the composition of the court. And let's be very clear. When I first read about the Kate Cox case in December, it raised those two questions, which is how close is close enough? And who are these partisan judges? Again, we elect our judges and our justices through partisan elections. Who are these folks to know better than a woman's doctor what is necessary for her? And then lastly, the question is, well, how do we get to a better place? These justices are elected. That means they can be unelected. And that's why when we look toward November, we are going to hold Jimmy, John, and Jane accountable for their actions that have made it more dangerous to be a woman in Texas, especially when you look at medical exceptions. The University of Houston's School of Public Affairs, Hobby School of Public Affairs, they did a survey last February that when they surveyed folks, 82% of folks surveyed said that they support medical exceptions, right? So that means when a woman's life is threatened or when loss of bodily function is threatened. So it's not even close.
Right.
We have an opportunity. We are not hopeless. We are not helpless in Texas. We can get on the right footing, but it does start with having a court that is impartial. And I'm happy to go into the background on some of these folks. John Devine, I'll just spend a little bit of time on him. John Devine campaigned on his own wife's high-risk pregnancy. He has campaigned on being arrested several times for protesting in front of abortion clinics. And I want to just do one more thing. I don't want to take up all the time here. I know with Representative Crockett, but with Jimmy Blacklock, in 2018, all you have to know about this guy is what Governor Abbott said about him in 2018 at a Texas rally for life. Governor Abbott said, "I don't have to guess or wonder how Justice Blacklock is going to decide cases because of his proven record of fighting for pro-life causes." And so, look, this is when you've gone through a very traumatic experience, when you are now going through the court seeking justice. The court is stacked. Jane Bland, she herself, she wrote the opinion in a case that when the Texas Supreme Court ruled that anti-abortion groups could not be held liable for defamation for equating abortion with murder. So, these are the folks that are on the court. There is no impartiality when it comes to this issue. So we can do better. We will do better by unseating Jimmy, John, and Jane.
Congressman Crockett, you were a Texas legislator before you became a U.S. Congress member, so you know the players in this whole thing, and you and I have had conversations about this in the past. One of the issues we've learned, though, from the post-abortion law reality in Texas is that even the exceptions don't make sense. Texas is almost proof of the point that when you carve out exceptions, but you have courts like this, the exceptions don't matter. If you have a high-risk pregnancy in Texas, or you have a pregnancy that you do not want to complete, you're out of luck.
Yeah. So when we were dealing with this law, I was still in the Texas House. And one of the things that they made sure that they did is made sure that the language was vague. Part of making language vague, whether it's on a state level or the federal level, is to make sure that there's chaos and confusion. And unfortunately, the chaos and confusion in the state of Texas is leading to casualties. And in addition to the fact that they just want people to give up. I applaud the Kate Cox of the world because she is privileged enough. She was able to leave the state. But Kate just wanted to make sure that for those women that don't have the same privileges as she does, that at least something was documented in some way. And so she took her very private story, very public, not just looking out for herself, but looking out for other women that unfortunately will not have the ability to flee the state. And I do want to go back just really quickly and talk about Dr. Gennard, because one of the things that is so ironic about Dr. Gennard's situation is, number one, she is an OBGYN, but she's an OBGYN who is married to an OBGYN. So just imagine two people who are medically trained and then having the likes of, while we don't have a Marjorie Taylor Greene in the State House, we do have people that may be on her same level as far as how informed or uninformed they are. They're the ones that wrote the laws that somehow now govern what Dr. Denard and her husband have to live by. And something tells me they know a little bit more. And we know that Dr. Denard, this was her third child that she was trying to have. And unfortunately, we ended up in this scenario where people have no idea what they're doing, but they are dictating our lives. And the final thing that I'm going to say is that it recently came out that over 20,000 women in the state of Texas, I think approximately 22,000 women, have been impregnated as a result of rape in the last year. And they had no options. Over 22,000. Now, you tell me that we live in a non-third world country, because it sounds like we're living in a third world country right now, and we should and can do better.